I'm excited to introduce Shiva Balasubramaniyan. He's from Capgemini. Capgemini has been our most faithful sponsor and most exciting partner because they are so focused on Insurtech, and their recent report on Insurtech is truly an enlightening piece. I really encourage you to go and check it out. And now, Shiva, please.
Thank you. Right, I think first of all, welcome to everyone. It's amazing to see so many people here. I've been in Hartford for about 14 years now. I've never seen this many people in this space. I think I had to stand in a line. I was just telling Stacey that I had to stand in a line to come inside. So it's so great to see there's lots happening on the Insurtech space here in Hartford. Stacey and the team, great job in organizing this. There's a lot of effort you guys are doing in the evenings to do this, to get this into space. I really appreciate that. My name is Shiva Balasubramaniyan. I'm a vice president within Capgemini from the technology practice. I head the Insurtech initiatives for Capgemini. For those who don't know Capgemini is a French company headquartered in Paris. We are about 200,000 employees globally, operating in about 40 countries with about 120 nationalities. So, very diverse organization focused on consulting, technology and advisory services. Today, Stacey wanted to really cover on customer experience, so I'm going to talk about three areas. One, I think, would be around what's the customer dynamics, what's changing, what's the market dynamics, and then what is the opportunity for Insurtech and as well as insurance carriers in terms of forging that customer experience. So that's precisely the three areas that I'm going to cover. Before I cover the topic, I wanted to get a raise of hands in how many people here in this room are from insurance world, insurance carriers, not Insurtechs. How many Insurtechs do we have? Okay, I know who to take sides with, I think. Today, I'll be very nice to the insurance carriers. I'm going to tell a story on this one about customer experience. This is a very interesting one, and I went through this personally about 3 weeks ago. My mom wanted to have a cosmetic surgery done. She lives in India. Obviously, you can tell by looking at me. So she reached out to me and said, "Okay, can you do some research and let me know how do I get this procedure done and find out ways to do it." And being a good son, and I really did a Google review, looked up all the places of good cosmetic surgeons in the city where I lived, and I found really a good place. And what's interesting about one particular thing was they had a number to WhatsApp. So I didn't want to call, I didn't want to really get into them, so I actually texted them in WhatsApp. And I got a response back saying that it's a business account from WhatsApp, which I never knew that existed. They reached out to me, they talked to me, there was a real live person that messaged me, and I didn't really want to call and speak to them for the only reason that they're going to call me back again and again. So I exchanged some information, they just messaged me back, and the whole process was so seamless for me that till I booked an appointment for my mom for the real procedure, I never had to pick up the phone and talk. And that was very interesting for me because doing that in India, I never imagined that I could ever do a medical procedure done through a WhatsApp. So think about, and the best part was I did all the online transfers through PayPal. So I didn't have to do write checks, I didn't have to do credit card. So that's why I think the experience has been changing quite a bit today in terms of what used to be the norm of about being an online presence to can I do everything in one click versus can I use a credit card or a check to can I do Apple Pay and pay. So this experience is changing, and I do expect a lot of that will have a significant impact on the insurance world. Look at it, I think the social influence. The example that I gave, I saw a lot of great reviews. I did some background checks on my own, and I had a lot of information that was available to me to make a good decision in terms of who I need to choose in terms of the medical process itself. Capgemini publishes what we call as a World Insurtech report. In fact, this is the first year inaugural report that we published in 2018. in Insurtech Connect event in Vegas. For those who want a copy, you can just look for Capgemini World Insurtech report, and you can download a copy of that report. This captures the trends around Insurtech space. We publish a number of reports: World Insurance Report, World Insurtech Report, World Quality Report. So I think this is one of those reports that we provide, and it's available for free of access for everyone. When we did that research, and I think that gentleman that spoke before about ABCD and three different dimensions on Insurtech, we looked at Insurtechs in three different dimensions. One around technology enablement, two distribution, and then the third one full career. So we've seen, if you look at any Insurtech and slice and dice them, you will see them fall under any of those three categories. And we also looked at these Insurtechs, whether they are providing argumentative innovation or a disruptive innovation, right? So if you mentally imagine that it's too complex, but I think it's fairly easy when you look through the report. What came out very strong was redefining the customer experience. I think no big brainer. I think it's very common that we saw in the whole place. Why? And I think I'm going to talk about interesting aspects, right? I think I'm going to start with auto, which is easy for a lot of people. I know there are a lot of life insurance and healthcare providers here in this room, but let me start with auto. And I'm not going to talk about driverless cars at all today. I think there are a lot of topics that have happened here in this room on driverless cars and lemonade. So no lemonade and no driverless cars today for this particular discussion. Think about the driverless cars, and I think about customer experience around how this is going to change for us primarily. If you look at the driverless cars, what's going to change surrounding it? I think we all know the driverless cars will, what the insurance model will look like. But the most important aspect is around the driverless cars. How does the parking would look like? How does car services would look like? How do your car washes would look like? What does it mean to the insurance world? And I think that's the most important question. I think the dynamics around it is going to change quite a bit for all of us in that space. Take Uber Pool, for example. What used to start as a cost savings, where people who cannot afford expensive rides wanted to share, or the car. Now, as more than 20% of their rides today is around Uber Pool today, which means there's more need for insurance, to be covered on that space. The interesting thing about ride share insurance is, for those who know about this, the ride share covers, especially if you are a passenger or a driver, it covers if there is an accident, it covers you when you are driving as a driver. I think there's a liability coverage, then uninsured and underinsured motor coverage by Lyft or Uber when you are in an accident, when you are in a trip. Imagine a driver, he's just switching his app on, and he's going to pick up someone. The insurance doesn't cover. So they have something called a period 1, period 2, and period 3. Period 1 is basically you switch a Uber or a Lyft app, and then that's basically waiting for your passenger. You can get hit when you are waiting for a passenger, but there's no insurance coverage, sorry. So that's a bad customer experience, right? I think you are driving for someone and you're not getting insurance coverage for that is not a good sign. So there are specialist insurance, ride share insurance, that are really focused on that particular segment, while the big names, I don't want to take any names here, but I think all the big names cover out the period 2 and period 3, which is basically the time you pick up the customer till you drop them. I think that's being covered as part of Uber and as well as the Lyft. So the experience for driver is mostly lawsuits on the period 1, which is basically if they get hit, while they're waiting to pick up someone. And let's say you're driving Uber in New York City, there's a good chance that you may get hit, by a pedestrian, and also you are also using your phone, you're getting distracted all the time. So it's a very high possibility that you may get, meet an accident before you actually pick up a passenger. The consumption. I think we all know, I'm taking AAA as an example here. They have the largest network on members, which we all know. But if you look at all the new millennials, I don't want to use the word millennials, but I think anyone after that, you could notice that pretty much nobody wants to use AAA, and I think they feel it's for the grandfathers and grandparents. And even for those who have used AAA, they've also realized pretty much that they don't know what the coverage is, except for everyone knows there is a ERS, Emergency Road Service. I think there are a lot more benefits that you can get out of AAA, which I think it's very difficult these days that you don't get to see today. So there's an opportunity where you have a whole lot of insurance that's available to you, a whole lot of benefits that are available to you, but today's world is all about, can I specifically subscribe to something and get the benefit out of, the maximum benefit out of it. So there's more focus around on this particular area. And I think a good example on this is, if you look at the millennials, I think not just millennials, I think most of us, on an average they spend about 7 hours on the phone, they look at about 150 times on the devices. So good opportunity to engage with them. And hopefully, I think there was a Gartner prediction, that the screen-based devices, will go away at some point in time. So it will be mostly like your wearables or any other technologies, which will be the most predominant ways to engage. And I think I keep saying this example all the time. I used to go change the thermostat, in the past, to get up and then change, the temperature in my, in my room. And then the Nest came in. I sat in my couch and I started changing it with my phone. Now with the Alexa integration, I'm not even using my phone. I'm saying, Alexa, change the temperature. So you can see the same use case has changed a lot in the last 3 years. So I do see that customer experience is going to change a lot for all of us in multiple different ways as we go forward. I'm also talking about cities. I think we talked about auto, we talked about consumption. Let's also talk about the cities. UN prediction is about 70% of the world population will probably live in the city by 2050, which means I don't think so. We need to start thinking about micro transits. We need to start thinking about hyperloops. We need to start thinking about ride shares, bike shares, and other things. All of this is new opportunities, new for insurance, and which means it is also extremely important to find ways to engage customers. There is more touch points for the customer through any of these means, and I think it's going to be very, very important for us to start thinking on that direction. Arrivo is another example, which I think impressed me a lot. It's a micro transport, fast forward, transport, local transport. They are partnering with the city of Denver to actually create that ecosystem. So a little bit more than the loop, the guys who are from SpaceX and others have founded this. So hopefully, I think it becomes a reality at some point. So we talked about customer experience, what the customer changes are, what's changing in the city, what's changing in auto, what's changing in terms of buying behavior. Let's also look at, from an insurance carrier's point of view, what are the market dynamics, right? So which are more vulnerable. There's a lot of weaponized complexity today. If you look at it, what used to be a law of large numbers now has become more transparent. The transparent means more confusion. I think we are getting more information, which helps us better pricing, better underwriting, but also means there is more opportunity for customers to question back. So this is, in my view, can be a good thing for insurance carrier, but also can be a big challenge because of the complexity being broken down to a great extent. Healthcare, Oscar is another good example that I came across. They provide insurance, but I think what I liked about someone like them is they are 6 times more faster with their member portals. Their claim settlement is about 5 days as against a traditional 15 days. So which means, and their integration is awesome. So which means, if you want to get an electronic medical records, it's much more easier to do it. So look at it. All of this is around customer experience, centered, truly around customer experience. Deliberate incentives. I think look at it. The type of work that's being done. While policy is a contract legal obligation, I think there's also a need for insurance carriers to support the profit for the shareholders as well. So sometimes it confuses the customer because are they in my interest or are they in the profit or the shareholders' interest as well. Today, but that's also being misused. 40% of the claims pretty much are fraudulent in many cases. So which means that that complexity is adding more for driving the customer experience. Spreadsheet commoditization. I think this is the most important problem I think we all have. I think we've got too much of work has been, a lot of comparative raters have come today for us to buy things online in the marketplace. Means that there's more transparency, more empowerment to the customer, but also means commoditization. There's a huge rate game that happens within insurance before you buy something and finally you bind it. So what used to be a relationship-based, in terms of buying an insurance, is more a click and buy type right now. So there's no much so the focus here is all around customer experience. When I say customer experience, three things comes to my mind. One is technology, the data, and the design. I think if you look at all those three aspects, they collectively bring that experience to someone rather than have to sit down and talk to an agent to buy something. And I think even if I have to buy a term life insurance, I really value the conversation that I have with an agent, but I also still want to go look at ladder life for someone else to buy the term insurance, because I don't have to talk to someone and I can click and buy and submit and then move on. Again, this is a good example. Mark Cuban, you all know the shark, and I think he's done good investments around Zebra, which is again the shark online marketplace for comparison, for price. And I think you can see the good opportunities. You can also look at what's used, whether you want a usage-based insurance, whether you want to look at a traditional insurance. I think there is a great opportunity to compare both traditional and non-traditional ones. Connected policies. I think this is extremely important as you go through IoT in our life. I think on an average, what I was told in the study is each of us probably will have about 15 devices connected to us. And I mean, it can be your home, it can be your home security, your wearables, your camera, your thermostats. And I think the list is actually adding more on an average. But we probably would end up using about 6 to 7 of them more effectively, which means that those connected things with your home offices and as well as your wearables will effectively manage a lot of risks for you, but at the same time, while you can improve your underwriting claims and payment processes, the real excitement is in terms of providing new business models. So can you, is there an opportunity to provide peer-to-peer or a usage-based insurance because you have so much data in hand in order to be able to process that. The last one I would talk about is the collaborative coverage. This is like, I take rent a runway. I think you can actually, everything is available as a service today with Uber, Airbnb, and everything that's associated around it. What if, as you go into more autonomous cars, in terms of buying usage-based insurance, I think if you look at Volvo in 2015, they came back and said they'll take full liability for its autonomous cars. Now, is it a manufacturer or is it a technology provider, right? I think there's a big question. I think that's going to be very, very critical for us to decide. And again, it's also going to have end user impact from an insurance standpoint, would be around those three areas as well. So here is the final third topic. I talked about the customer needs. I talked about market dynamics, and I think this is the the study that we did as part of the World Insurtech report. What is if the insurance carrier and the insurtechs have to work together, what's the right opportunity? What's the partnership potential? So we did a partnership potential assessment survey with a lot of the insurance carriers and the insurtechs. What came was what is important for a short-term partnership and what is important in terms of forging a collaboration on the longer term. Similar to the previous presentation, there's a lot on marketplaces, digital brokerage and claims. So if you look at it, every hackathon, every activity on Insurtech, you will find tons and tons of solutions around claims. And I think I met Brad from, I forgot the name. Connect Out. I think he said the tagline was we are not an app. So that's pretty interesting to see today because I think more and more we see everything was app-based, and I don't see that as an opportunity, but there's more opportunity for us to leverage other areas today in the short term for insurance carriers and insurtechs to forge the relationship. What's in the longer term? So we see data. Data is going to be the big areas, which is can the insurtechs bring new types of data that the traditional insurance carriers have not seen? I think that's going to be a big portion because of the complexity, because of the regulations. It's going to take time, and I think that's why you see that as part of the longer term equation for us from a partnership standpoint. With that, the key takeaways, at least from this exercise, is while, in my view, I don't know whether 3 years down the line, Insurtech, or 5 years down the line, the word Insurtech will exist. I think someone talked about it's an adolescence age today, maybe it's getting mature. To me, I think at some point in time, they will all hopefully merge together. So the Insurtechs and as well as insurance carriers will find ways to collaborate. And I think that collaboration is going to be key for success in terms of driving new business models and as well as driving newer ecosystems. So with that, driving experiences, driving innovative offerings is going to be one important area together for, it's not just an Insurtech responsibility, I think it's also insurance carriers' responsibility. And I think in order to make that happen, what's the partnership model to look like? What is the technology? What's the ease of integration? Is it barrier to entry? Is there a sliver to stranglehold? You could establish as an opportunity for yourself. And I think that collaboration is extremely critical in my view. And with the customers that we work with, it's always focused on the solution. I think the technology, the data that either the insurance carrier or the Insurtechs bring in eventually make the difference. That's it. On time. Yeah.
Quick question. How do you see over time, you talked about digital brokers and intermediating and so on. How do you see the external brokers, the value add, how do you see that change over time?
Can you elaborate a little bit?
Well, you talked about the commoditization of the spreadsheet and you do comparison with spreadsheet and so on. And that, let's just presume that gets more automated.
Yeah.
But what is the value add of brokers over a period of time as things get more commoditized and change?
It's still for many of the agents, they require licensing. It's highly regulated, and I don't know if we look at robo advisors for underwriting and pricing steps. I don't know whether we can get that regulations and licensing for those robots as well. So I think that's a big differentiation in value. I think there's a lot of legal restrictions around it in order to be able to finally price it. So the value won't go away, but the touch points will probably become less and less. Zero. Okay. I think I'm going to be here around. You can catch me. Red sweater.